Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for Reddit cheating stories like these. Without further ado, let's get started.
My 28 male, wife, 29 female, slept with my best friend's brother a couple months ago, and I just found out. Please be advised that this will be a lengthy article. So I've been married to my wife for a little more than a decade. We met in high school, began dating, and have eventually married after college. We are one another's first and only romantic connection. In general, we've had a really good connection. We seldom argue, we still enjoy spending time together, and we are unquestionably great friends. Until lately, marriage had been simple and joyful. She sat me down one evening in November to chat about our life. We've never been very active in the bedroom. But it's never been a major issue. She's always told me that she's not a person, and I've always respected that. It's fantastic when we have. There are no concerns there. But she informed me that night that she'd lost all passion/desire for me. She was kind about it, but she didn't sugarcoat it. She said that she just does not want it anymore. I assured her that I was aware of her situation. I was wounded, no sure, but I felt that this was a normal occurrence in a relationship that had lasted since high school. Especially because none of us has ever had relations with another individual. To some degree, I still believe that. To cut a long story short, we discussed for a couple of hours and decided that this was not good news for our marriage. We didn't make any major choices that night, but we decided to take some time to think and reflect before having another chat in a few weeks. When that time arrived, she informed me that there were several things I needed to work on that would help her regain some desire. It all came down to the fact that I wasn't making her a priority enough, and I hadn't made her feel beautiful, unique, or appealing in a long time. And she was correct. I'll confess it. As a result, I made it my aim to work on it. And everything went off without a hitch. After a few weeks of focused effort, our life rekindled. Actually, it's better than ever. It was incredible. Hooray for forthrightness and self-improvement. Then, 2 nights ago, I discovered a slew of text messages that I wasn't meant to view. It was my wife's birthday, and we'd gotten a little tipsy with some friends. She eventually went to bed, and I remained up a little later. When I went to bed, I discovered that my phone had died and that my charger was in another room. I assumed I'd borrow her phone to set my AM alarm since I was too drunk and lazy to go fetch it. I grabbed it, saw that she had received a text from my best friend's brother, who lives a few hours away, and was at a loss for words. We last saw him at my best friend's wedding about 8 months ago, and I remember my wife mentioning that she always thought he was pretty, which wasn't a huge thing at the time. We're always honest about that type of stuff. But I had no clue they texted each other. I assumed it was a happy birthday SMS, but I wasn't certain. I debated whether or not to open it for a few moments. I've never been a snoop, and I'm not fond of the thought of reading her messages, but this seemed strange. Maybe it was the wine, but I had the feeling things wasn't quite right. As a result, I opened it. It wasn't a happy birthday message. To save this narrative from growing much longer, I'll simply say that I discovered a 2-month-old exchange of SMS and photos. The language and images were of an adult nature and rather graphic. I deduced that they met and up in December when she was in his town visiting an old buddy. They didn't seem to have since then, but they were on a regular basis. I contemplated if I was dreaming for nearly 5 minutes before concluding that I was awake. Enter a new level of agony and nausea that I've never felt before. With my judgment impaired by bourbon, I decided to rouse her up and confront her. She began by denying everything, but she was still extremely inebriated, half sleeping, and not making much sense. When she awoke a little more, she acknowledged to everything. Confirmed what I had deduced from the writings. Then she spent some time criticizing me, claiming that my previously acknowledged lack of marital priorities had drove her away. Throughout the chat, I was a screaming jerk, calling her A&A. I'm genuinely sorry of my actions that night, but if you've never unintentionally discovered your high school sweetheart turned clear wife's adultery, it stinks. We chatted again yesterday, when we were both sober. It was still a bad talk, but it was a little more polite. She accepted responsibility, apologized sincerely, and told me to do whatever I needed to do. The problem is that I have no notion what I want to do. So, like many others before me, I've come here to seek your counsel. She had to go on a business trip for a few days, which is really very excellent timing since I don't want to be around her right now. And I'm just sitting here wallowing in self-pity and pondering what to do next. I adore this lady with all of my heart, yet I also despise her right now. What would you do, is my query to you all. Divorce seems to be a simple solution, but I can't get my head around it just now. People come back after infidelity, don't they? Is she really a nasty person who I need to break away from and focus on restarting my life? I'm not sure. I'm at a loss. This is the worst scenario I've ever been in, which, on the bright side, makes me glad for how simple my life has been, and I'm at a loss for what to do. Thank you for taking the time to read this. I apologize if this was too lengthy or unclear at any time. I needed to get things out of my head so I could start thinking about the next steps. All of you are in my thoughts and prayers. Story 2. Wife cheated on me with a coworker she calls her mentor and father figure for 7 years. I had a high school relationship, I'm now 30, with one of the females. It all resulted in a lovely marriage 2 years ago. During my early 20s, I was not completely devoted to her and had a fling with one other woman. I felt awful and guilty. Within a week, I confessed to her. She was agitated and enraged. She grabbed my other girl's number and yelled at her that I was two-time and that she should avoid me. But she quickly forgiven me, or so I thought, maybe a week or two after. I never had the confidence to question her or examine her phone after that happened. Whereas she used to do this often and tolerated it, believing that it takes time for someone to trust you even after they have forgiven you. For many years, I carried the shame of my adultery around with me, until 2 months back. There were several red signs, which I disregarded. Finally, 2 months ago, I questioned her about her mentor/manager, with whom she had worked for 7 years. When I questioned her if anything had occurred, she strongly denied it at first and attempted to convince me that just because you cheated on me doesn't imply I cheated on you. Finally, after much persuasion, she admitted that she had only kissed the man during her vulnerable period. When I cheated, that was 6 years ago. She began weeping after witnessing my response and returned to stating, "I have not done anything, but you were pressing me to say anything, so I said that." By this point, I was persuaded that she had done something. I questioned one of her friends who had worked with her in the same company, and she also remarked that everyone in the office could tell they had something going on. The argument between myself and her lasted another 2 months, and she accused me of unjustly accusing her of adultery. Finally, 4 days ago, she admitted that she had kissed the person and kept swearing that she would never do anything else and that it would just happen once. Now I know they were in regular contact until I brought this up. They used to talk on the phone and converse, since it's her manager. In 2019, just after her wedding, she was on an on-site deputation, and the same manager was also staying in the same hotel for almost a month. Whenever I questioned her, she would forcefully defend herself, saying, "He is like my father, he has been my mentor, how can you even think of anything like this?" There are many more examples, but this piece is already lengthy. I'm at a loss on what to do. Edit 1, she revealed that they had been kissing for nearly 2 years. She passed the polygraph, and the tester confirmed that anything she was telling me was true. Nothing happened apart from kiss, that also before marriage. She's seeing a therapist today. She had a nervous breakdown 2 days ago, but I'm still struggling to come to grips with it all. All the pictures of her cheating on me, all the memories, the whole relationship seems like a fake. Marriage feels like a fraud, and love feels like a lie. Any assistance is much appreciated. Edit 2, she allegedly passed the polygraph, but fresh information continues to emerge. It is now established that her connection began prior to my cheating incident. She went to his place 3 times but claims nothing occurred. He was only alone in the home once, and he attempted, but she refused every other time the AF's family was there. I'm not sure how she passed the polygraph in the first place. Also, the AF slept with my wife's friend in the same apartment, and in her room with her present not once, but twice. Her buddy verified this, but she maintains that nothing occurred with my wife and that whatever happened happened just to me. Is this a triangle or something nastier?